Hi, Mark. I'm just going to give you a few comments on your session plan. So I really like the simplicity of it and the straightforward nature. You know what you want to do. You want to extract what will improve staff situation at work, and as you said, a secondary goal is to build relationship, which seems very important given that their relationship with you will undoubtedly impact their satisfaction at work. So I think it's a strong direction. Um, the reason I wanted to record a video is because I think you're packing a lot of ideas into the exploring idea stage that you put as your second step, and I just want to talk about that because there's a little bit of complexity there. So basically, so you start off by doing your greeting and your introduction. And actually, before I can go into exploring ideas, to address that point, um, you're going to want to, and you might have thought of this already, but just to double check, how you frame the session up front is going to be important, right? In that, by you planning this session and inviting people to it, you're implicitly acknowledging that, okay, there is an issue here. Like, why would you have this session? Perhaps people aren't happy right now. So how you frame it so that people will feel open discussing this problem or open to imagining new possibilities will be important. So I would just encourage you to put some thought into specifically how you're going to frame the goals of the session, the reason you're there, those kind of things, and also in terms of how you're going to frame that in your invitation to staff to attend if you haven't sent out that invitation already. So you want to think about things like, what is the hallway conversation going to be like? When people know this session is coming up, they will probably talk to each other. If your workplace is like most workplaces, what will they say? How can you frame it so that this session seems like a positive opportunity to actually impact change, as opposed to, oh God, I'm so busy and now I'm being called into a session, right? So you want to think about that upfront framing quite a bit. It will be important in terms of setting the tone. Otherwise, very thorough and good. But then with the second step, exploring ideas and divergence, what I'm noticing is, number one, you are exploring ideas here in that anytime you diverge, you're exploring ideas. However, this is not you're not covering the exploring ideas stage of CPS. This is more what you're doing here. From when I read your sort of the details, you're assessing the situation. So you're gathering the necessary information to solve the problem. You're not at this point getting ideas for solving the problem, right? So that's just to be precise there. And then what I'm seeing is that you're asking two separate questions that would put people in different directions. I think both these directions are important, and I think you should explore both. But I think in your session plan they need to be unpacked, and each part needs to be given its due. So the first one that you have is sort of you have these ideas about what does a great day look like and what activities do staff work with most. And I see that as really different than the 5 W's and an H. I see the first one as grounding the session in people's personal experiences and getting down to a granular and concrete. I see the second 5 W's and H as going into the abstract and the issues and the broader questions. I actually think you need both those things for the session. Both are appropriate. However, I think you want to separate them out so that when people are answering one part, they can really sink into it and explore it. And then when they're answering, same when they're answering the other. I think by combining them, you might not get thorough responses for either because people won't know where to focus their energy. So to begin with with getting into the personal, what does a great day look like? What work activities staff enjoy most? So this seems to me like a really good activity because it grounds them in it grounds them in real life concrete data instead of your assumptions or all the baggage that they're having. It brings them down to the in the day experience. So questions that I have about the way you frame these questions, and this is really going to be your judgment call. These are just suggestions and thoughts on my part. Are whether you want to use you instead of staff, right? What does a great day look like for you? right? And then that sort of takes staff out of their heads and into their concrete experience, which would bring a different kind of data into your session. You might also consider, I don't have an answer for this, but I have a question. You might want to consider that that I don't know your culture, your context, but if this were asked in my environment, it's possible that a first response would be, "What does a great day look like? I don't know. It's been so long since I've experienced one," right? And so you just might want to anticipate any sort of sarcastic or negative reaction you might get that might shift the tone of the session, and then either adjust your question or think about how you would mitigate in the moment. But you're thinking about what's your goal here. Your goal is to get people to start sharing their experiences of a good day, and so that you can then extract the themes of where you want to go, right? So if people say a great day, I have more time, then you know that where you want to go is to a place where people ultimately have more time. So just separate it out and work on it instead of everything being a big list of everything you're going to do in one time slot. Give this the attention it deserves. Let people focus on it. I also want to question whether if you're going to ask people about a good day, whether you also are going to ask them, what gets in the way of you having a good day. And the reason I would raise that question is that sometimes if people feel that you as the facilitator are pushing them towards not acknowledging their real struggles, they could resist, right? But if you give them the space in a contained way to acknowledge also where they struggle, but also acknowledge the positive and let them know that you're doing this in a balanced way, that can let richer data come out. So that's that. And so I wonder, that could take a long time, right? That could take time to actually have them come up with their ideas. Then when you converge, what's your goal? Your goal is to identify some of the main themes. So, wow, what I see here is that, many, many people would like to have more time in their day. Many, many people would like the opportunity to actually sit with a patient and they can't. And so then like when you're converging, you're thinking, okay, how am I coming up with the themes? And as you indicate, you might do that through HIT. So you might end up posting everyone's great day, and then you might think about what question will you ask them before they do the hits in order to say how are they going to choose. So which statements resonate with you, and articulate best what you see as a great day. So how are you going to bring it all together? Okay. So now let's put aside those personal questions, and now let's look at the who, what, when, where. So this is a qualitatively different kind of experience you're leading participants in, which is why I think it deserves its own sort of section of the session plan. Because now you're asking them to emerge from their concrete experience and look at the broader issues. So the only thing about this is that you do want to make sure to run through how you would foresee answering all these questions. It doesn't mean that they need to answer it like you do, but it just means that if they get stuck, that you're there to guide them. This could go on for hours, right? What is the history behind this situation? What is the ideal outcome? I mean, basically, you're kind of it's the whole problem solving in a few questions. So when I look at your who, what, when, where, why, how questions, I get concerned that it's just going to sort of sprawl into a general conversation. What's wrong with it sprawling into a general conversation? The whole point of CPS is that the whole premise is that through structuring things, we can come to better solutions than we can if we just sort of muddle through and talk in general ways the way we naturally do. And so I think the general intent behind what I'm seeing here, where you're sort of, okay, here's let's start with your experience, let's go into the issues, is good in terms of assessing the situation and starting the conversation. But I think with the 5 W's and in each, you want sort of one level of intentionality to make sure that it doesn't get so broad that you're just covering everything, right? What's the key information you want to draw out at this point? If ultimately your goal is around visioning, wouldn't it be nice if, and getting them to look at their positive vision for the future, what do you need to do at this stage get them there, right? And then, as we discussed, I think it is great to then end with convergence around how they might reach some of these visions. Okay, so if I were to summarize what I'm saying, overall more structure, right? So just to make sure that you're leading them so that it doesn't sort of go off the rails into a conversation that is not productive. I think you need space for both their particular experience and a broader overview of the situation, and this needs to be given due. I think you need to be careful when you go into the broad overview that it doesn't get so sprawling that you can't contain it, and you want to think about your really precise goals. And lastly, I think you want to sort of make very deliberate spaces for to bring up what would be preventing the achievement of these great days and where they want to go, and for also looking at the positive. And because what you don't want to happen, right, is that people go into the negative and then that just takes the whole thing over. On the other hand, if you don't create a space for it, it will seep in, and it could seep in and poison everything, right? Let me know if you have questions about what I'm saying. I felt it was a bit complex and nuanced to put into writing in a way that was time efficient. So I hope this video works for you. All right. Thank you.